there, my name is Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much for being here. Today we are doing my bottom 10 books of 2021, the worst books that I read in 2021, the top 10, bottom 10 version of that. You know what I'm trying to say. I didn't do a disclaimer with my favorite books. I don't know why I'm going to do a disclaimer with these books. Obviously, I didn't like them. That's all this video is telling you guys. I didn't like them. It's cool if you did. Let me know if you did. I probably won't agree with you, but you can let me know in the comments. Let's just get started. I think I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of a summary, but also I'm going to tell you more so what I didn't like in the book, so that way you kind of have like a feel for it. Coming in at number 10, we have Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. I do not like when in a contemporary romance I have to suspend my disbelief a lot. I don't mind suspending disbelief for tropes. What I do mind suspending disbelief for is world building. This is a contemporary. It should be easy to believe that your world exists. In this one, we have, oh my god, this dude's name. I freaking hate this dude's name. Okay, so we have Marcus, and then we have, what's her name? And April. And April is a cosplayer for the show that Marcus is a famous actor on, and she gets like fat shamed for doing a plus size cosplay, and Marcus takes her out on a date, and they do like fake dating for a little bit, or they real date. But what April doesn't know is that her and Marcus have had an online relationship, a friendship going on for like years. And so like the whole like third act breakup, you see it coming from a mile away, is the fact that Marcus is going to catch up with him. Marcus, after realizing that April is the person that he's been speaking to online, refuses to tell April. And like, that's not even the worst part. That's one of the bad things that I hate about it. But some of the worst parts are the fact that this show that he's on is basically Game of Thrones. And at first you're like, okay, so Game of Thrones didn't happen in their world. This show did. No. Game of Thrones also happened in this world. And not once ever does anyone compare the show to Game of Thrones, or they talk about it, or anything like that. Like, for a book that was mainly focused on shit-talking the last season of Game of Thrones through, like, funny quips through this show, it's very interesting that no one's bringing up Game of Thrones. Like, it was a distracting element, almost. Like, the next book came out and I'm not reading it, even though I loved those characters more. I'm not gonna read it. I'm not gonna subject myself to sitting here disbelieving the contemporary world you've built. It's not something for me. Number 10. Number 9 is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. I almost forgot that I read this book. Number 9. This book has a little bit of, like, magical realism, where there's this, like, 17-year-old girl, and like her family and parents are like grave diggers, but like people aren't burying bodies anymore, they're burning them, and then like the dead come back to life and you're not sure why. It's a very weird, not well explained plot. There was a romantic element for some reason I didn't enjoy. It could have been better if it was well developed and thought out, maybe even needing, I mean, it doesn't need 2 books, it just needed to be better. Number 8 is The Empress of All Seasons by Emiko Jean. This was like Hunger Games, but like with demons, and I needed more. This just didn't have enough of all of the cool things that were happening, and and like they didn't focus on the challenges as much as I thought they should. There were only 4, and like they didn't focus on them enough, and like then there was a whole rebellion plot line that came out of nowhere, and it was just very interesting. Not enough. It needed more. It just needed more. Number 7, I don't have the physical copy of anymore. I don't know where it went. I don't remember getting rid of it, but I'm pretty sure I just went ploop, out into the universe, get away from me. It is The Kingdom of Back by Mary Lou. This follows Mozart and his sister, and it's like a magical realistic variation of their, I guess, imaginary world that they came up with. There was a lot of like cool things that I wanted it to focus on, and it didn't focus on those things. And then Nannerl turned into like a woman of her time and like didn't care about being free or being recognized, and like that was just something that it was like, okay, more than the fact that we're not leaning into the fantastical elements, I hate that you make the female characters like, yeah, I'll just be okay with my lot in life and not run away or try to make it better or anything like this. I don't like historical fictions. I'm not entirely sure why I picked this up aside from like that kind of dark prince fantasy element, but it wasn't expanded on enough for me to truly be happy with the end result, and the end result isn't happy anyway, so like, I don't even know. Number 6 is The Winter of the Witch by Catherine Arden. This book suffers from having elements in it that are cool, but we don't focus on those elements or end up in a cool place at all. And when characterization just falls off to where it's like I'm reading completely different characters, I do not care anymore. I couldn't care less. This is the third in the Winter Night trilogy, and I read the entire trilogy in December. It was a huge disappointment for me. The third book wasn't as bad as the second book, however, it was still so bad. Like, it had elements and magical relationships that I was very interested in, but we weren't focused on those things, and then on top of that, there was this whole historical element. These books are historical fiction. They're not fantasy. It's not magical realism. It's historical fiction, and I hate it. And it focuses on that so much that, like, there's a whole war that goes on. I don't know why. It's not even explained. Half the historical stuff is explained, half of the magical stuff is explained, and it's not enough for either of them, and it fails this series so tragically. So tragically. Number 6. Coming in at number 5, I forgot I read these books this year. Siege and Storm. Is this the third book? This is the second book in Shadow and Bone. So this is where Shadow and Bone took like a really hard left turn. Like, I really enjoyed the first book, and then all of a sudden her and Mal got together. After Mal like completely is rude and not cool to her at all. They get together in the end of the first book, and now this one, it's more of that. Alina turns into a completely different person. I don't appreciate the character arc she's going on. I don't appreciate that Mal is more of a part of this situation. He's horrible. I hate him. The saving grace of this book, as always, is Nikolai. The girl hate continues, and I hate it because I want to like Zoya. There's no reason why I shouldn't, but Alina doesn't like her, and there's like this weird like sexual one-uppance that tries to happen. I hate it. I hate it. It's the worst. It's the worst. I hate when you center girl hate around like, I slept with this guy. Like, who cares? And also, he ain't shit. He ain't shit. Number 5. Number 4 was Hang the Moon. This is also another situation where I read a romance, and I do not believe in suspending my disbelief for contemporary settings. None of this made sense. On top of that, it was more so that I didn't want to suspend my disbelief that I didn't understand these characters at all. Annie was whoever the plot needed her to be whenever it needed. Oh, third act is coming up, we need a breakup? Well, Annie's the person for it because she has no characterization, development, or anything deeper than a love for Starbucks. More than I didn't care for her, I did not like her. She was not nice. She was rude most of the time. Brendan was too soft of a person, and she was just not caring. Like, she had no heart. It was not fun to read about. I didn't necessarily care. I cared about her in the sense that I wanted all of the other characters around her to be happy. I wanted Darcy to be happy. I wanted Brendan to be happy, but I knew Brendan wouldn't be happy with Annie, so I really didn't want him to be with her. It was a lot of rough, a lot of bad, a lot of I don't care. Not to mention the fact that the epilogue makes the third act breakup inconsequential. Like, it doesn't make sense. If the epilogue happens, the third act breakup shouldn't have happened. It doesn't make sense. I hated it. It was awful. Number 3. Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. This just wraps up a horrible trilogy that I just did not care for. Leigh Bardugo sets up this world that I enjoy so immensely, just like George Lucas. I enjoy the Star Wars world. I just don't care for the story we're getting. I don't care about the Sun Summoner. I would if she were cooler, but she's not. She's not even a consistent character. She's not even someone whose arc is believable. She just is what the plot needs her to be. And I hate it. And there's more Mal, and they end up together, and like Mal doesn't want her to be powerful, and I'm so tired of reading about relationships where someone's getting powerful and the other one's like, maybe you shouldn't. Bitch, get out of here. Support me. I hated it. It was awful. The ending of this really defined for me that I do not care for or want to watch the series. I don't care about those characters. I care about the characters in Six of Crows, and like, that's it. I don't care for Alina or the gang. I care about Nikolai and Zoya. That's about it. Number 2. This Golden Flame by Emily Victoria. This book was so disappointing. It tries to sell you on the fact that this is about automatons, and it's not. It's about one automaton. He doesn't even know he's an automaton at the beginning. The characters are bland. They are bland. They do nothing. They have no passions or desires. They don't care about things. I don't care about them. I don't even know what happened in this. There was no plot, no character, there was nothing except an automaton. And he wasn't even that cool. Like, I was ready for something so much more spectacular and engrossing and detailed and world building and characters who matter. And like, it seemed like there was going to be like pirate-esque people, but like, yeah, she's a little bit of a pirate, but she was barely in it and she had like no characterization. So like, what's the point? What's the point of having an archetype of a character when there's no depth to it? Ugh. And finally, number 1. The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. I absolutely hate this book. I almost didn't read the third one because of how much I hate this book. This book was only the second in the series, but it was the most historical fiction, the least fantastical, the least magical, the most awful, the most boring, the most Vasya doesn't care when people are abusive towards her, doesn't care about her situation, she's just gonna do it, and like, I do not care for Vasya's anything. I don't care for Vasya. I don't care for this story. This one has the least amount, like I said, of magic, fantastical elements, and like, it suffers for it. This whole series, like I said, is a historical fiction, and this is the most historical it gets. So if you're into that, then maybe this is your thing, but like, whew. It's a lot of like people I don't care about, real humans, real people in Russia that I don't care about, and like not even good political intrigue. Like there's some political stuff, but like not enough to carry its own plot line and not enough for me to care about it at all. It was so bad. It was so awful. Worst book of the year. Number 1 worst book of the year. And, you know, some of these, like the first half of this list, all of them kind of suffer from like they were only missing a few things, or if they just changed 1 or 2 things, they would have been much, much better. But towards the end of this list, I just don't like these books. And it really sucks because, I mean, I was going over my statistics, and truly these are the only worst, I would say. Everything else I really enjoyed. I do enjoy the reading that I do. I tend to only pick up books that I truly enjoy, so doing this video is kind of a formality. But after seeing some of the stinkers that I actually read, I'm kind of glad I did do this video. But like I said, not everything is a stinker, not everything is that bad, and I truly enjoy most of what I read, so having a few books that I like are so passionate that I dislike them is almost kind of funny. So let me know down in the comments what are some of the worst reads of yours of 2021. Let's have a little like bitchy moment downstairs, and I'll see you down there. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!